What can I see? I can see a world full of conversation with mobile phones everywhere. You wonder how people manage without them. I find them handy because they are, like in emergencies and things. The technological boom and progress is scary, and the youngsters just have taken to it. I remember when I first computer I saw, I worked for a company that was very keen on computers, and I had to go on a training course with a lot of the young other secretaries in the office. And the thing was, with a girl from IBM, I think it was, came from Glasgow to teach us. And we're all sitting in this room, and this lassie obviously assumed that people knew what computers were and had worked them. And 99.9% of that class had, because they'd all had them at school. I didn't even know what it was, what it looked like. And the moment passed when I could stand up and say, look, I don't know what this thing is. So I was struggling from then on. And then I avoided using it for long enough. However, I've managed to catch up to a certain degree, and you kind of get through our life without it. Although we find in our pensioners, it gets in their nerves when they watch television and say, contact us on www. And they don't have computers. So, I mean, as I say, the whole world has them. So I would say the age of technology is what I see as the biggest change. And it affects everything.
Scotland is the most wonderful country in the world, without any shadow of doubt. And we live in a land that's almost totally encompassed by water. In fact, it is if you take the Tweed and all the sea round about our coastline. And I see a mirror image in the water around this country, which reflects the character of the country and the people who live in it. And I always like to draw an analysis between what I see in the Aberdeen Harbour, and it reflects a huge pattern of life and the process of life. And when you go down to Aberdeen Harbour now, you see the most magnificent, huge, technologically constructed ships of varying sizes, passenger ships, standby ships, technical ships, small boats, no fishing boats. So the heart that was Aberdeen has left the harbour of Aberdeen, but it's been transformed into a modern technological oasis for ships of a specialised character. And when I look at my own youth and remember going to the Clyde and the Broomielaw in Glasgow where I worked, it was just a fascinating place. It was so vibrant, it was dirty, right enough, but that was the industrial pollution. And it was so active, it was just a massive humanity. And there were boats and ships and of all shapes, sizes, and you wouldn't believe it. And now when I go back to Glasgow and walk along the Broomielaw, there's a ferry sitting in isolation and nothing else. Mind you, having said that, there's a cormorant sitting on the suspension bridge. So the Clyde has cleaned up, there are fish in it now, there are no ships. And I'm just trying to wonder, would I rather have it like Aberdeen, where the past used to be the trawlers and it's now been transformed into an international technical navigational port? Or is it better to go back to the Clyde and see the Industrial Revolution away, cleanliness, clean air, modern buildings and seabirds in the Clyde once more with fish in the water?
I just wish I'd seen the city moving a bit quicker and more into the modern age, because we go to other cities and they're all managing it. Especially even go to Dundee, which used to be like a black hole.
Dundee's
it
a classic.
It is a treat to go to Dundee.
Dundee's a classic case of getting from nowhere to the almost top of the heap.
About that,
Dundee is such an attractive city now.
It really does upset me.
One of the most appalling features of progress, inverted commas, in Aberdeen. Maureen and I spent a lot of our time in Hazelhead Park, and I used to think Glasgow's blessed with a lot of parks, but Hazelhead Park is a wonderful place.
Yeah.
It's an oxygen for Aberdeen and all the people who come here.
The heart and lungs, as George Hosey was saying, the heart and
Yeah,
lungs. of
Heart and
Aberdeen.
Lungs of Aberdeen.
Well,
And what do they
they've gone
do?
ahead with a recycling
They're
plant
going to put
there.
a recycling plant in Hazelhead environment. And I thought, who are
Yeah.
these idiots that are running
I thought you'd had your
Aberdeen?
turn.
Sorry, dear. I'm willing to give space. Here's me backing Aberdeen up. And you want to cut me short
that's what
in
I
my
was doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I never interrupted you about Glasgow, did I?
You're always polite. There you are. I
Um,
told you it's a
Well, they're
contrast between...
saying about Hazelhead is in effect. They've shut down the restaurant and they're now looking after the gardens. And I mean, they've that fabulous monument for the Piper Alpha, and it's looking pretty seedy now. It's a disgrace.
I'm astounded when the first time I came to Aberdeen in 1954 and the first time I walked up Union Street, I thought, my God, I thought Sucky Hall Street, Buchanan Street and Argyll Street were the centres of the universe. I said, they don't hold a candle to this place. It was magnificent. Now I go down Union Street and I have difficulty recognising the trees that are growing out the gutters and the downpipes. And that's a great tragedy. And I think Aberdeen has taken a step backward in certain respects. It's very, 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 very upsetting to me. It has the potential to be not the Athens of the North, but an icon of the North.
Well, had these things many years ago, what happened to it? Because if they reckon Aberdeen is one of the wealthiest cities in Britain, and all this money coming flying in from the finance
Well, a lot
sector and the oil sector.
a
So,
lot. I believe, Maureen,
we're
that
looking
there is-
pretty seedy.
I think there's a part reason for that, because I do believe, although I'm not into the business of knowing exactly what happens, but there is a huge amount of the revenues generated at local authority level that automatically goes to Westminster.
Yes, but wasn't it ever thus?
Well, sorry, that's our case, isn't it? Why should it go down there when the generation of wealth is deliberately focused in the southeast of England, and a great structural development in the northeast of Scotland with the potential it's got is having to cut corners? To me, that is a sin and it should be corrected very quickly.